flying like flies.
I am the king!
The king.
And that's how I feel. F the King. Welcome to the Free Your Geek podcast. I'm your host, Jay Free, with these weird headphones on, taking them off now. For those of you watching the video, to my left, you see the man of the hour, KB.
What's up, brother?
Bringing these lovely DVDs. Yeah. Thank you for some little pizzazz for the show.
4 through 6?
Yeah, 4 through 6 is what we're talking about. And the People's Geek, the man who I think is a Game of Thrones connoisseur, the People's Geek, the Don.
How y'all doing?
Yeah,
that was a very different intro for him.
Don usually yells and
usually gives the
I don't know if you've seen the show.
Geek thing.
Like if you watched last week's video, like you were all over the place, and I love that. So,
oh man, I get fired up for this. But
we're fired up. But let's talk about something here. We want to talk about all of our guests that we're supposed to have on.
A lot of problems.
A lot of things just kind of like, Murphy's Law, just everything happened at once. But to all of those that wanted to be on to discuss this, if you're watching the video on Facebook Live, feel free to comment along. I'm going to be reading the comments. I'm going to kind of be taking a back seat before we get into the crux of things.
The crux.
The meat and
you
potatoes.
like that word, crux.
He does.
That's my go-to. That's my go-to. Well, I'm trying to expand my vocabulary. I have one of those page a day calendars at work where I learn a new word, and crux is every day. So, before we get into it, though, I want to say, give a quick shout out to our sponsor. Thank you to Pachico's Furniture, located at 663 Bedford Street in Fall River, Massachusetts. They have furniture. Fall River's what's the catchphrase? It's the finest secondhand store. They have furniture, DVDs, Blu-rays, movies, video games. They do moving services. If you're looking to move, don't worry about carrying all those boxes up and down your flights of stairs. Call Pachico's. They'll give you a good deal and have quality movers to take care of all of your valuables to your new abode.
And you won't even have to hold the door.
Oh, that's great. That's a great reference, because what are we talking about today? Getting into the crux of our conversation. What are we talking about today, boys?
Game of Thrones, seasons 4 through 6.
You know what I mean? We've already met our characters. We've met major houses. Now we're getting into, twists and turns and revenges.
It's fun time.
Exactly. Yeah. The gloves are off. The wars have been fought. Now we're getting into the bigger, more in-depth
now
wars.
that we say it that way, I actually feel that way about it.
Yeah.
Like the first 3 seasons is really like story build up.
That's it.
And now 4 through 6 was like the second act.
Yeah.
And now we're getting ready for the third act, which I just can't wait for.
Can't wait for them curtains to open.
Yeah.
Woo.
It's gonna be fun.
So season 4, man. So we were
Where did we leave off? Let's talk about where we left off on season 3. What has been happening in the Seven Kingdoms?
So where we get left in season 3 is the Red Wedding. We had just lost, the young wolf, Robb Stark. Walder Frey made his disgusting moves with Roose Bolton, and what ended up happening is, the North lost their leader. We have Arya now on her own personal mission now that she's free of Harrenhal.
Mm-hmm.
She's on her way to the House of Black and White to meet Jakar. Sansa is still held captive at King's Landing, where I believe at this point in time there are plans in action to get her out of there, which it was very much more emphasized in the book. A different plan, so to speak. We only got on the TV show the Littlefinger aspect when there was a character that they actually threw in season 1 or 2 who was like the alcoholic knight, and he was all like drunk, and Joffrey was going to kill him. That night, they put that scene in there because further down the road, they were supposed to reuse that night. If you notice on the show, he is never seen again. He is actually the knight that sneaks messages back and forth to Sansa, like, hey, we're going to get you on this ship. We're going to get you out of here. You're going to be safe. Trust me. Rich, what's up?
Yeah, Rich, I'm going to try to read comments. I didn't want to interrupt your
it's okay.
into this, man.
I want to touch on other characters. Who else we got? We got Danny. We got Danny has made her way to buying her Unsullied now.
Yep.
I want to say we saw her command the dragon. We saw Dracarys and her kill the slave masters. Oh my God. One of the most symbolic things actually opens up in season 4, episode 1 is actually called Two Swords. And it starts off with the melting of Ned Stark's sword, which
is Valerian steel, right?
Valerian steel. Yep. And we actually get Joffrey's sword, which I cannot think of. It's like, Heart's Bane or something stupid. It's something to do. Oh, Heart Eater.
Heart Eater.
And then we get Jaime's sword, which is Oathkeeper.
Oathkeeper, yeah.
Which he actually hands off to Lady Brienne.
Which is awesome. And I want to give a quick shout out. Both Maria and Elizabeth are watching right now. Elizabeth Teves Michael. Hello, welcome. If anyone watching right now on Facebook Live is a fan of Game of Thrones, we're talking 4 through 6. Tell us your favorite characters, your favorite moments. We'll read them, as it goes through. We'll read them on air. Rich, yes, we'll do that. Don't worry. We got you. Rich wants to be on because he's a local filmmaker. Yes, we just don't want to do horror every week. We need to kind of keep it moving. We're talking more fantasy right now. But yes, I'd say within the next month, Rich, if you want to come back on, just let me know what dates work for you, and we'll go through it. But going back to Oathkeeper, you mentioned.
So we get to see those. Well, actually, we really only get to see the mission of Oathkeeper, because another thing with season 4 opening is the Purple Wedding, where we get to see the SOB Joffrey finally get
what was coming to him.
Well, he deserved. Actually, he deserved a lot worse than that. But we were all happy to see Joffrey go.
Right.
And the whole setting up of Tyrion in that whole.
Well, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. The way he that stuck to me really like vehemently in my mind, like just ingrained in my mind that he was even then at his wedding, he's just kind of like prodding and poking Tyrion and trying to like get him to pick up my cup, uncle, all that stuff, and it just really kind of like reiterated what a bastard this kid was.
Yeah. In those days, they really did have
literally
at weddings. They really would have someone be their cup bearer, but you could just see the hatred that Joffrey has towards Tyrion, because when Joffrey had no power, Tyrion let him know, like, I don't care that you're gonna have power someday. Like, you're not gonna be a little devil.
Actually, but even when he did have power, he still didn't care what he said. So,
but at that point, though. Even, you're right, when Joffrey had his power, Tyrion didn't really back down from it, but that's because Tyrion had power to back it.
Yeah,
Tyrion was appointed hand of the king.
Hand of the king, and it was appointed by his father.
Exactly.
Yeah, so.
And we all knew that Tywin ran Joffrey. Joffrey had the title with nothing behind it.
Sent him to bed without his supper.
Exactly, yeah. Some milk of poppy and go to sleep.
Real quick, before we get into it, a fan of the show who's been pretty consistent every week following us, Paul Tavares, said, "Sup, fellas, I've never seen Game of Thrones." So thank you for watching. Spoilers then, sir, if you continue watching. But we will say this. How would you, before we get really into the whole body of what's going on, how would you describe to somebody that's never read the books or never like really like how would you describe Game of Thrones to like just somebody?
I would describe Game of Thrones if you took God, I got to pull out my TV show knowledge. All right, so if you took all of the backstabbing and scheming of House of Cards and
cross it with Lord of the Rings.
You cross it with Lord of the Rings, you minus the race system or whatever it is that they got going on in Lord of the Rings. You keep it very
take away a little
basic.
bit of the magic.
Yeah. They kept it very basic. So you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But I would love to try to get someone to stump us on Free Your Geek. We have a few people watching, and already Maria's actually asking a question that is so simple. The poison was already
Well, yeah, it was a throwaway. So this is to kind of go before we go on to kind of piggyback on what Don was just saying, explaining it. It's also got a little bit of me elements to the storytelling of Lost in the in the way of if somebody knows if you see a character for about 5 seconds. You have to pay attention to every single character because everyone's got a motive. Even the minor characters have. Or ones that you might not be paying attention to have a bigger motive. So to answer Maria's question, she wanted to know how the poison get in the wine. I think it was later on. It was a couple episodes later, right? It wasn't that same episode.
It was the Tyrells.
It was the Tyrells. And what's
the jewel off of Sansa's necklace was poison. And the only reason we really get to know that is because at dinner she's missing a jewel in her thing. And out of her necklace.
But how did it get from Sansa's necklace to?
Maybe a bump and it fell off, or maybe there was a little subtlety between the Queen of Roses and Sansa didn't really notice. But the fact that they gave Sansa that necklace to wear,
it's very poignant.
Yeah,
very important.
Very, very, very key. I don't think. The cup falling or anything like that really had too much to do with it. I want to say that from like a filming aspect, they wanted you to maybe think that, so they're not giving it away like, hey, by the way, the Tyrells gave this girl this necklace, and look up there goes the poison.
They didn't want it to be straightforward until Grandma Tyrell said, yeah, this is what we did.
And she was in conspiracy with somebody, right?
She was. My God, she was actually in cahoots with a few different people. I want to say Tyrion's had really no part.
No, he had nothing.
No. Like, so the one person who gets blamed for it had zero to do with it. Her relationship that she had with Varys would make it seem very suspect. What's her name? Even Marjorie.
Yeah,
Marjorie could have.
There was enough people in play.
But I don't think Marjorie knew because when they have that conversation and she's like, I would never let you marry him.
But there's one character who is kind of prevalent in the background of a lot of all these machinations with all these different characters. A man by the name of Peter Baelish.
That's what I said.
That's what he said.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So Littlefinger, but I want to say I don't know which season we figure that out in, but he also has I don't know what season do we find out who killed Aaron, John Aaron. I don't remember what season that was.
The last season or the season before.
But
no, oh my God, no. When Liza gets thrown from the moonroof. She's like, I did this all for you. I killed my husband for you. I did this all for you. I've loved you forever. And he's like, I've only loved one woman my whole life.
And it ain't you.
And it's your sister.
Ain't you.
Have fun Supermaning out the window.
Right. Well, so he's got his hands in everything. He's got his hand. He's playing everything. So as we go to season 7, I think his plan is finally going to start focusing and coming into focus a little bit because he poisoned Joffrey, or he helped to poison Joffrey. He helped get the Hand of the King, the John Arryn. He helped end his life, and he betrayed Ned Stark, as we talked about. So he's working towards something, and I'm assuming Sansa's going to be a big part of that plan.
Okay, so I didn't want to do this, but we're jumping around. So.
All right, we don't have to jump around.
It's good though. You spoke about a good point.
We're no House of Pain.
You'd be lucky to be in Podrick Payne's house. You know what they say about those guys. So anyway, the whole we actually hear it right from Littlefinger's mouth twice. There's a scene. We'll take it back really quick because we didn't really talk about this in our last week's episode. So there's a scene last week.
Last week?
You know what I mean?
What are you watching?
There was a scene in seasons 1 through 3 where Littlefinger and Varys are sitting there in the Iron Throne room, and they're talking about, could you have a picture of yourself?
I think we did
there?
mention this last week because I was saying, he's saying that he's eyeing the throne.
He's like, Littlefinger actually wants it. Varys is the opposite end, like he didn't want any part of it. So anyway, in the last episode, the last thing that we seen before, we were on our wait for season 7 is the conversation with Littlefinger and Sansa at the prayer.
I was thinking of
the
that.
God tree, you know, and
At the end, yeah.
he tells her, you know, every decision I make, I have this vision in my head, this beautiful picture of me on the Iron Throne and you on my side. And he leans forward and he gets ready to kiss her, and she's like, "Yeah, that's a nice picture." And
Face
keeps it
palm.
moving.
High faced him.
And she kept it moving. So it sounds pretty gross, but Sansa's gonna end up like with her cousin. Jon Snow.
How many more times can Sansa be married off?
I don't know, man. But you know, I mean, realistically,
Well, that was going to be my question. Isn't she technically?
she's Sansa Bolton.
Well, wasn't she married to Tyrion?
She's Sansa Lannister. Yep. Keep it rolling. She can just, you know what I mean?
She's going to just keep adding on to her
They
name.
don't really have divorce back then. You usually just die. You know what I mean? Like, oh, yeah, the wife's bothering me again. Oh, looks like I'm feeding her to the pigs.
So Sansa Stark Lannister Bolton.
Yeah. That's it.
That's
man.
a
She is
long
like,
last name.
She's like one of Burt Reynolds' wives. I don't know. But so this is damn. See, that's why I didn't want to get all over the place, because we skipped through so much stuff.
So let's go back. Let's take it back. So
Let's go back. So yeah,
So we're talking about the Purple Wedding. We're talking about
talk about the Purple
Joffrey's
Wedding,
death.
Joffrey's death. That
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of other filler in there. We get to see the growing relationship between Jon Snow and Ygritte, and we get to
Yep.
see the crumbling downfall of them not being together.
it's got really sad story.
It does, and I think I mentioned it last week. I absolutely love her. She's like my favorite female character on the show. Like, just the way everything about her is like, you know, she's powerful.
Real.
She's like beautiful,
Very real.
naturally beautiful,
And it's real.
It is, and you watch that and you want them together.
Somebody completely outside of the game in the
Yeah.
way of life, talking to somebody who was a lord or
Yeah.
from a lord from a great house.
Yeah.
And it's like this person's like, no, we don't do things that way here.
Yeah.
Like when they start talking about sex and stuff, and it's just like, did you ever, like all these questions?
Yeah.
It's just John is so uncomfortable.
Oh, he is.
The-
And then it's funny
Look on
because
his face is just
the cherry on the sundae of season 3. If I guess that's a good way to call it. Like whatever like your favorite part of the Sunday is of season 3 is episode 9, The Watchers of the Wall, where like Jon Snow's back. Jon Snow is not in charge. Alliser Thorne is still fully in charge of Castle Black, and he hates Jon Snow. And I mean, like, we all hate this guy for him treating Jon Snow like shit from day one of him getting to Castle Black. But in these moments, you're seeing him rally all of his brothers of the Night's Watch. You know, like, you see that all these guys are nervous and they're bumbling and dropping stuff, and he just gets them in check. He says, when I tell you to draw, you draw. When I tell you to not, you not. Like, he just gets... And then somebody comes up, like, they take the elevator to the top, and they're like, we're getting overrun downstairs. And he looks at Jon Snow. No, he looked at the other guy who used to be the leader of the City Watch. And he's like, you at the wall. And then leaves, and you see that guy who has no idea how to lead an army, how to inspire people, just stand there. And Jon's like, yeah, I'm going to have to take over up here. Gren ends up sending that guy down. That guy goes, hides with Gilly. But I know I'm jumping all over the place, but when Alliser Thorne gets down on the elevator doors open, him and the other like 5 guys that are rolling with him just go out there like slaughtering wildlings. And this guy who... You don't like, you're getting fired up. You're getting behind him because he goes down and he tells them, he's like, Castle Black has stood for over 200 years. It's not going to fall today. It's not going to fall tomorrow. We're going to sit here. We're going to defend this with our lives until whatever. And he battles everyone, and he fights the Thenn, and he fights, oh my God, Tormund. He's like, he fights all these guys, like great battle scenes. But still,
you
it's
have the
not
giant
enough.
busting through the door too.
You got the giant busting through the door.
Yeah.
I love how Snow grabs Gren and he's like, you take a couple lads with you and you go down
You
there
stop
and you
that at all
hold
costs.
the gate. And he's like, how am I supposed to hold the gate against that? He said, you hold that gate. And then that's it.
Yeah.
And
They died heroes there.
yeah. Samuel comes up, sees all the madness. Samuel comes out of the little kitchen where he was hiding, and oh no, he was actually shooting away with Pip. Him and Pip got crossbows, and they're picking off wildlings. Ygritte, boom, takes Pip out. You see Pip fall. Frickin' Samuel ends up, getting away from like the Thenn who was trying to kill him. Takes the elevator up and he's like, John, it's all falling apart down there. Everything's done.
And he's got to go down there.
And John grabs like 3 guys, goes down. Samuel's like, John, I'm going to help you. No, he hands him the key. I need him more. And then boom, you just see Ghost come running out. just like straight ripping people's necks out. And I don't know, that's the best part of that season. That's the best scene that I can remember in that season. Talk.
Yeah.
All right, well,
back to season 4.
Yeah, I mean, so
That was season 4.
yeah, I mean, so I was busy sharing all that, so I missed a lot of what was going on. But
Sorry.
no, it's okay. It's not your fault. You were getting into it. Before we so we talked about. Did we talk about what was going on with Daenerys? Did we mention that?
Daenerys liberated Slaver's Bay.
Yep.
Daenerys has her unsullied army. Daenerys is on her way to Marine.
Yep.
And then she gets to Marine, and then season 5.
Okay, and then we talked about Sansa. Did we talk about Arya? What's going on with Arya?
We talked. Arya makes it to the House of Black and White. Arya tries to become, get in the Faceless Men Guild or whatever, and it seems like they're not going to let her do it because she won't let go of herself. We even get the proof of her not wanting to let go of herself because she hides Needle.
Yeah.
The last thing that ties her to the
Throws
Stark
everything
name.
away but Needle.
Yep.
Hides
Which
Needle
is
under the rock.
Awesome. We meet her anti-Arya,
The waif.
Yep.
the waif. We meet her.
Can't stand her.
Can't stand. No, she's like I'm gonna teach.
Was
you
that a
tough
jealousy
lesson.
thing?
I think so. I think because Jakar took a liking to Arya from the
And
beginning.
she just didn't like that. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm next in line, not this person
it's
coming
exactly.
along.
It's supposed to be me, and you can tell her training is top-notch training.
Yeah,
but
she was ready to go.
Arya, obviously, Arya did the most genius. See, I'm gonna jump all over.
Okay, well, before we do that, we'll get back to them. What about, is this the season? Because I remember we went a couple seasons without seeing Bran.
No, we went one season without seeing Bran. We went all of season 5 without seeing Bran.
Okay.
So why we didn't see Bran is because book to TV show is they went too far ahead with Bran's storyline. They went as far as they could go. So we gotta pump the brakes because timeline. People don't understand when they watch certain parts of Game of Thrones that everything that they're watching is not happening in the same day.
all
It's actually
different
happening,
times.
week, month, 2 months, 3 months apart.
Yeah.
And we're just getting, if you want to sit and take it as it being.
Well, think about it, just how long it takes them to travel.
Yeah.
If Daenerys is traveling from one city to another in the east, it doesn't take her 2 days to get there. It takes a month
Yeah.
or whatever to walk or sail. Like right now, we end it, in season 6 ends and they're sailing. It's that's probably a couple months
Yeah.
to get to where they need to go.
What I find to be really funny is I saw a meme a while ago, and it's how Varys travels, and it shows him flying away in his cape. But I was thinking more on the lines of, you guys remember the Mortal Kombat movies, those little tunnels where they'd stand in the little hamster ball, and it would just, that's how I picture him traveling.
He's got an underground network of
Yeah.
hamster balls.
Because realistically, if you own the books, and maybe in the DVDs too, it shows you an actual map of Westeros.
Yep.
You would
I think it's the second or third season. One of those has it.
yeah. So you would think that
It's big. It's very big.
Pentos and Westeros, by the way that specifically Varys and whoever the dignitary is from Pentos
Yeah.
is, who would try to set this initial
Yeah.
war up, you would think that was very close because they're always traveling. It seems like, we saw Viserys and Dany right there talking
Yeah.
with the guy, and the next thing you know, Varys is now, that
Yeah.
guy's already talking with Varys in King's Landing.
Okay. Let's move on to something else. So let's move on to the trial.
The trial.
Tyrion's trial.
Tyrion's trial was probably...
That's one of my favorite parts of that season is the trial and his attitude towards the trial.
Yeah.
And just never waning. And Jaime's trying to help him. And Jaime's like, just say you're guilty. He'll send you to Castle Black. And I think Tyrion knows that would never happen. I think his dad, Tyrion, was looking for an excuse
Yeah.
to get rid of Tyrion. And I almost feel like that was never going to happen regardless. But I liked his attitude in the courtroom.
Yeah.
I liked his attitude of, yeah, I'm guilty. I'm guilty of and he goes through like all of these other things.
Oh,
but
no,
like,
oh, no, no, no. I know
I'm
you
not
mean.
guilty of that. I'm not guilty of murdering him, but I'm guilty of this, and you are all guilty of.
Yep.
You
And
know.
he's like, I wish I had killed him.
Yeah, it was just phenomenal. You could just feel the energy. He does such a good job acting that part.
That was so phenomenal. And then I love when he's like, I'll take trial by combat.
Yeah.
And then, like, without even knowing who he's going to get,
Yeah.
like, he just calls out trial by combat. And you know, like, we all know, Cersei's picking the mountain. Cersei
Yeah.
wants you dead. The mountain's coming out. And, like, at first, like, oh, yeah, Jamie's going to fight the mountain with one hand or one,
Not gonna
good hand.
happen. Yeah.
I'm like, oh. And then you think, Bronn. You're like, Bronn, that's Tyrion's boy. And I love how Bronn sits in the cell with him and he's like, yeah, maybe I can beat him. Maybe he'll, I can just dance around a lot.
But it ain't worth it.
He's like, but one mistake on my end, and it's my ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no getting around
Yep.
that. And then when Oberyn comes and Oberyn
We haven't even talked about Dorne yet.
We have not even, but so before we get into the trial, we're introduced to a character named Oberyn,
Yep.
who is the Prince of Dorne. This guy has traveled
With
in-
his wife.
his wife, who is not a highborn, who is a bastard.
Yep.
Her name is like Ilaria.
Yep.
Alara. She is his wife. They got 4 kids together, and we actually meet
Yep,
3 of them because they're the Sand Snakes. Which
Yep.
I want to say there's 8 Sand Snakes in total, but we're only gonna meet 3, and that's all we're gonna get from the show is these 3.
And one of the Sand Snakes was also on a Netflix series, Iron Fist. She played Colleen Wing on Iron Fist.
Did
She
she?
Really?
did, yeah.
I didn't even.
So that's a little
Oh, man.
FYI fun
I have
fact.
to go back and I have to go back and
Good
look at
fun
that.
fact right there. And I mean, Oberyn was trained in. Okay, so just so you guys have a little backdrop, whenever we're talking about Dany's side story, when we're talking about Marine, we're talking about like the most humongous pyramid with the Colosseum built right on the side of it. So like just to give you like geographical like ideas or whatever, and what's his name? Oberyn Martell has traveled there, has trained with all these gladiators. Like, he is so wealthy that he just travels the world and experiences.
He's a master fighter. Yeah.
He is. Like, so when you see this guy, like telling this, like why he would do this. Number one, he would do this because the Mountain obviously killed his sister under the orders of
Not
Tywin
just
Lannister.
killed his sister. When they describe it, it's just
It is.
brutal. You don't even want to think about the way they describe it.
It's horrendous.
Yeah.
So that whole battle between them two.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
Oberyn just puts a hurting on him, and you're like, I'm sitting there like,
And the blades
freaking out.
are poisoned.
Yeah,
So that was because he does not have a chance if that's not.
No.
Because if you can't weaken the mountain, you're not going to beat him.
Did you ever? Side note: did you ever play like Soul Calibur?
Oh yeah.
It reminded me of like Siegfried
Yep.
fighting Maxi.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
And at one point, the Mountain swings his sword at Oberyn, and like Oberyn blocks it with his bow, and it takes him off the ground.
yeah.
But
Or you think maybe more like an Astaroth.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Still, like, he just ran his mouth too much.
Yeah.
Guy ends up, tell me what you did. Da 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 da. Mountain just trips him up,
Yeah.
and then let me massage your eyelids.
He took his eyes off the prize, which
Yeah.
was what the problem was, because it was ignorance on his part for ranting
Yeah.
about how he's winning and what he did to him, what he did to his sister, and blah
Yeah.
blah blah. And he took his eyes off the situation, and I think that's really kind of what happened.
And
is
that's how he
he
lost
got
his eyes.
overconfident, and that goes back to what Bronn was saying about one mistake.
That's it.
All it took.
Yeah.
And you could be the best fighter in the world, which this guy is meant out to be. Let's face it, because of all the training, like you just
Yeah.
said, all he made was that one little mistake. So, yeah, that was definitely, and it's so gruesome too. Like when he's squeezing, and he's just like,
It
you
looks
just see
like he
exploding,
destroyed a huge jelly donut. Just,
Boston cream, just.
oh man.
You're very descriptive when it comes to death and horrific
Death
things.
and donuts.
Death and donuts.
Oh man.
Yeah, so I mean that was excellent. And then so moving on from the trial and the trial by combat and all that. So let's go on to the escape.
The escape.
Tyrion's escape
Oh man.
from King's Landing. So Jaime lets him out,
Yeah.
right? So he goes into his father's room in the King's
Yep.
Tower, right?
Goes
And
to
sees Shay in his father's bed.
the whole.
The whore. And it's just one of those things. You just see the look on Tyrion's face in disgust.
Yeah.
And you feel so badly for both of these people because let's remember, he wanted her to leave King's Landing and she would not leave.
Yeah.
And the only reason he was a jerk to her and said all these nasty things about her is because he wanted her to leave.
To be
not
safe.
because he didn't really love her. And I don't think she understood that.
Yeah.
And you feel bad for both of them in this case. You
Well,
know,
I feel bad for Paul. Paul Tavares is leaving. He's going to check out season 1. So thank you for sticking with us, Paul. But I just want to give in my 2 cents with that too. Don, now you haven't read the books, right, KB? No. Don, you've read the books.
I've read 4 books.
Wasn't Shay didn't she have a little bit more of a different characteristic? Because they set up something with Shay in the books where she was potentially there was more to her than meets the. Or am I mistaken totally on
I
that?
wonder if you're talking about Tyrion's first wife.
That's what I think. I think that's where
I know
it
you're
ties
going
to.
with this.
Yeah.
So, Tyrion has actually been married before.
which we hear a little bit about.
Yeah, they get.
He
you
talks
know,
about it a little
They
bit,
touch
but-
on it, but so Tyrion married this prostitute who his father disapproved of.
Yeah.
So what his father did was the most fucked up thing.
That's
that
okay.
ever
We're
could be.
we're
Sorry.
PG-13, not
We're
PG.
PG-13. We're PG-13.
Sorry.
We dropped
Original F-bomb,
one
good God.
F-bomb and that's
Oh
it.
man, Scotty's
That's-
good. Scotty's got me beat by 3.
Yeah, no, that's your one allowance, sir.
All right, so no, this is wow. Saying that just threw my mindset off.
So talking about his first
Yeah,
wife.
his first
All right,
wife.
so his first wife. So what Tywin Lannister does? Tywin Lannister tells Tyrion's new wife, "I will pay you a piece of silver for every soldier of mine that you sleep with." And the saying goes, she left with more silver than she could even carry, and it broke Tyrion's heart, and this and that, and oh my God, I ruined the story. She wasn't a prostitute. The father lied and said she was a prostitute, that they paid her to fall in love with Tyrion. Oh, and she really loved him. And years later, Jaime ends up telling
Him the
Tyrion.
truth, which that's what leads to the events in the book,
Yes.
or in the show too. But
Yes.
it happens differently in the book because then he finds Shay in his father's bed. After, like you said, KB, for all this long time, he's trying to get her to leave because he knows it's not safe for her. So he's doing everything that he can think of without basically telling her, like, this is why you're in trouble, you're in danger.
Yeah.
He's basically telling her he doesn't want to be with her, all this stuff. And then come to find out, as you guys were talking about.
Yep. So now they're in the middle in that killing scene where he's strangling her at the end, where he's
Yep.
fallen down on the edge of the bed and he's strangling her, and you can just see the look in his face of like that sadness and that grief.
Doesn't he choke her with the lion pendant?
I think so. But so now let's get to the next part, the interesting part. So he's walking out and he finds his dad sitting on the crapper,
Yep.
His own throne, if
his
you
own
will.
throne, and he has Joffrey's crossbow.
Oh, yeah.
So I found this to be really, really interesting. This is the only time I feel like I ever saw Tyrion Lannister be like, and don't get me wrong, he didn't say it with any stress or any, oh no, let's just go back to the room and talk about it.
Yeah.
That was him really saying, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only time you'll ever hear something like that out of him. I don't think it was ignorance. Some people might say, oh, it's just his normal ignorance, but I think it was, he knew how long he'd been torturing his son.
Yeah.
And I think he knew it was going to come to an end. And good for Tyrion for basically killing his father in this most funny position, embarrassing position.
Well,
I
so
just found it-
I found it
found it a bit
interesting.
amusing.
I found it more amusing that the fact that here's this powerful guy, you
Yeah.
know, the kind of like the patriarch, the head of the Lannister family, and he dies on the crapper, as you said.
That's what I'm saying.
It's
Like, it was amusing.
but that there's a piece of that which I kind of alluded to a rumor last week where I said that in the first episode of season 1, where Jon Snow and Tyrion are talking, and Jon says, "What would you know about being a bastard?" And he goes, "All dwarfs are bastards in their father's eyes." Got cut to this scene where they're arguing. Tywin says to him, "You're no son of mine."
After
Yeah.
he gets an arrow stuck in him.
Yeah.
Right. But could that be leading again? Don's a
I'm
staunch.
on this. I'm on this.
Okay, go for it.
So in the next breath after, actually, in the breath before, "You're no son of mine" is, "You're my son. I would never
Yep.
kill you. Are you nuts? Like, you think I care about that whore?" And he says, "Say whore again." And he's like,
Yep.
"She's nothing but a whore, Tyrion. Why do you care for?" Boom. Gets him with the arrow. "You're no son of mine. Blah blah blah. Crank, 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 crank." And just so you guys know, I don't know if many people catch this, but so there's a conversation earlier on, season-wise. This is before Purple Wedding, before Red Wedding, before the trial and all this. And Littlefinger is having a conversation with someone, and he goes, "People die all the time. They die in weddings. They die eating. They die in he calls it a privy,
Yeah.
you know. And right there, sure is crap.
So they've died in all
No
three
pun
ways.
intended.
Jon Snow, Robb Stark, then Joffrey, and
Yeah.
then Tywin Lannister.
Mm.
3 of the most powerful people in Westeros, like within, short span.
That's pretty big. Season 4.
Okay.
Now let's get into season 5.
All right.
So we want to start off with Tyrion again. So he's on the road now, right? Lord Varys, right?
He's with Varys. Yep.
Varys sneaks him out.
He's made his way across.
Yep, they're traveling in a wagon.
Yep.
Traveling in a wagon. They're getting frustrated. He keeps wanting to get out and walk, and they end up at a brothel.
Yep.
And that's where Tyrion is kidnapped by
Jorah Mormont.
Jorah Mormont, who is, we didn't even get into that.
Geo Mormont's son?
Who Daenerys has banned, right?
Dany's banned him because she
Banned.
found out the truth about his spying on her.
Yep. So he's in the situation where he wants to make it up to her, right? So
Yep.
he kidnaps Tyrion, thinking that
This will be the
make it
prize.
up.
Yep.
And I just love when they get on the scene. He's like, "I was going there anyway." I just love that. Like I
Yeah.
just thought that was like, oh, this works out all too perfectly. So I think this is where it really starts to get interesting. And now, where are we on the wall at this point?
At the wall, the point we're at is Jon Snow stopped the Wildling invasion with the help of Stannis Baratheon.
Yep.
Because after that battle, the Free Folk is what we'll call the
Yep.
Wildlings, also known as Free Folk. They kind of hang back. They retreat from the castle. We have who we have captured, which is really the only important character.
The
we have
important two
captured is-
pieces.
well, at this point, we only have Tormund. We only
Okay,
have
that's
him.
right, because we don't have.
So John's only solution that he can come up with is that he's going to go out there and kill Mance Rayder on his own. He's going to walk out there by himself into their army, and he's going to just find some way to kill Mance Rayder, and the armies will separate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what ends up happening is John tries to have this conversation with Mance Rayder. Mance Rayder's not having it, but just as
Very
things-
stubborn man.
Yeah, which, I mean,
He's watching out for his
his
people.
stubbornness worked. He brought together this, mega army.
Yep.
But as soon as things start going south for Jon Snow, boom, Stannis Baratheon, Davos, and all of their which it's a very small and insignificant part. But we do have to mention that Stannis went to Braavos, took a loan out of the Iron Bank to buy himself an army for his, for his
A loan they almost didn't get.
claim on the throne. Exactly.
Yeah.
But so now where we are at the wall is
Mm-hmm.
Stannis is at the wall. The woman in red is at the wall. Davos are at the wall.
Everybody's
with
at the wall.
Jon Snow.
Yep.
The wall is now resecured.
So now we're at the point where we're talking about them joining Stannis' army, right?
Yes. So an important thing is that Stannis looks at Jon Snow, tells Jon Snow, "I'm going to legitimize you. You are going to be the head of House Stark now. You are going to be the Warden of the North, but
Yep.
you have to help me now."
Yep.
And Jon says that he can't actually help out in this battle because his vows or something, something to do with that because of what's going on.
So
at the wall.
so that's where Stannis asks him, well, you need to convince Mance Rayder to have his people fight with me.
Have his
He
people
just needs
fight
to
with
bend the
me.
knee, which he's never going to do. So this
yes.
puts Jon in a very, very bad position.
Oh man, I'm so happy, because you're putting all
and
fresh ideas.
and basically, so Jon's trying to talk to me. He's saying, like, listen, you're so prideful that you can't save your people.
Yeah.
Like, what's more important to you? And he's just like, no, if I bend the knee, then everything I've done is for nothing. And
Yep.
and you understand him, but at the same time, you like know it's not the right thing to do. So now we're at that position where Stannis says, well, if he doesn't agree, we're going to burn him
Yep.
at the stake. So we burn him, and now this is where it gets interesting because we have the kid. What's his name? Who was being the steward for Jon Snow, the little kid that came from the
Ollie.
burn. Ollie, right? So
Love-hate relationship with that
love-hate
kid.
relationship.
Straight
Yep.
hate.
Absolutely.
Straight hate.
But
Ollie.
anyway, so now they're burning him at the stake. He's burning, and Jon Snow puts an arrow through
Arrow
him.
to the heart.
Merciful
right?
death.
Merciful death. So now that is so key going forward, because if he doesn't do that, everything, none of the events happening from that point with the wildlings would happen,
Yes.
right?
Because I can agree on one
when-
end, but I could probably argue.
But
the
when he
other
go,
end.
because when he goes and talks to what's his name?
So him and Tormund. Okay.
Torment. Yep.
So him and Tormund. Are we talking about them two just
Yep.
talking, or are we talking about them two going to hard home?
Them having the initial conversation,
Okay.
and Tormund.
Tormund tells him.
If Tormund not seeing that,
Yeah.
Tormund isn't going to help.
He wouldn't have co-signed. We'll
Exactly.
say it like that. He wouldn't have co-signed to
Co-signed.
Jon Snow when the time was needed.
Vouched.
Exactly.
Yep.
So when this is the best, like anything else you want to touch? Because as soon
No,
as we
I'm
get
gonna
into-
let you because
as soon
I
as we
think
get into hard home. That's
Yep.
it. That's what we learned.
So are we? All right, do we want to talk about any of the other characters before we do that?
Season 5 characters, standout characters.
Well, how about the flashback? Did we talk about the Cersei flashback?
All 3 of your children will wear golden crowns,
Yeah.
but none of them will be true king and all that. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, and then a witch tells her that someone younger and more beautiful than herself will one day steal her accomplishments.
Marjorie.
yeah.
Is it, or could that be an allusion to Daenerys coming? Because we're talking,
Yeah.
it could still come to pass.
Marjorie technically
but-
wasn't queen very
Okay,
long.
then let's say that it is Daenerys. Daenerys is not who Cersei Lannister thinks of when she thinks of that.
Well,
particular-
absolutely. But again,
automatically it's Marjorie, because Marjorie instantly manipulated Joffrey and then instantly manipulated
Somebody who
Tommen.
could manipulate her sons over her.
Yeah.
And that was
And-
that
and
was frightful for her.
We've seen
Yeah.
Cersei have that grip over all of her, not so much Marcel, because she is the most irrelevant character that they put in Game of Thrones, because we only hear about her 3 different times,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, she's a princess, oh, we're shipping her away, oh, she's dead
Yeah, I was
now.
gonna say we didn't even talk about that.
that's season 5
Yeah.
as well.
But,
so that's season 5 as well, where Jaime and Bronn go take off to get her.
yeah.
Right.
Wow, it's
And that's where we're introduced to the Sand Snakes.
that's
you know.
when we're introduced to the Sand Snakes. That's when we actually finally get to see Dorne. Dorne's beautiful. We get to meet Doran.
Yeah.
Doran's in the wheelchair. That's Oberyn's older brother,
Yep.
who actually is their prince. I don't even know what you can't even call. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Because like they don't have a king.
Yeah.
Like it just kind of.
So technically, would that make him the Warden of the South? Like, would he be the Warden of the South? Kelvin becomes Warden of the West. Warden of the North is now an empty seat.
Well, it was technically Roose Bolton, right? And then
Dead.
But
Ramsay.
then Ramsay calls himself Warden of the
Yep.
North.
But
After he's legitimate. I can't say that word. He's basically becomes a Bolton as
So
a
he
part
is
from the snow.
100% now. He is a Bolton, but he gets legitimized. His father realizes what a mistake that was. Marries the very fat woman for all the silver. Gets her pregnant. She's gonna have a son. Now there's a real threat to Ramsay's newly found claim to the Bolton household.
Yeah.
To the Dreadfort is their stronghold. But
So you got that going on. You got the things with Sansa going on over there, right?
Sansa's now been, after being held up at the Vale for maybe like 5 or 6 episodes, she ends up being sold
Peter
off to the
Baelish.
Bolton household.
And the horrors that she goes through over there.
I mean, we get our TV rape scene that everybody
Well,
was
that-
like up in arms about.
I wasn't up in arms, but it made me, from a character standpoint, say like I thought Joffrey was going to be the worst, like the biggest, like prick that we could ever see, and I'm like he cannot hold a candle
but you
to
don't
Ramsay.
understand. Like,
But could you
we're
imagine
looking-
Joffrey and Ramsay in the same room?
It's not even that. I mean,
Those two guys just having a conversation.
if you look at it like this, yeah, like Ramsay is a horrendous person for like a 25-year-old man.
Yeah.
Never mind, let
there's
Joffrey
pure
grow up
evil.
to 25.
That's true.
Yeah.
And
This is-
as king,
This is what he could have been, except with more power.
Would have done up whole families.
I want to give a quick shout out though while we're taking a breather to Nathan. He says Ollie's the only kid to be able to hang with the crows, which is a great reference. We'll get
Crows
into that.
before hoes. Oh man.
Dude, do we talk anything about while we're talking about season 5 and different characters? Did we want to talk about? I just saw it here. I was reading up on it. What's going on with Daenerys?
Daenerys in season 5 gets recaptured by the Dothraki.
Yes.
Oh, we were talking about no, season 5, Sons of the Harpy,
Oh,
Sons of the Harpy
God.
stuff. Yes.
So you
the
wanna-
Unsullied.
well,
So Sons of the Harpy is basically these assassins start coming out. They start killing the Unsullied in brothels, right?
Yes.
That's the first thing that we see, and I think at this point they're trying to figure out who the Sons of the
Sons of
Harpy
Harpy
are.
are, yep.
They start putting more patrols on the streets. This leads to more violence.
Yep.
Right. They have the. Let's see. They capture one. I think what led to more violence is they captured one. Remember in the wall,
Yep.
they broke open a wall. And one was hidden in the wall when they were investigating the room, and that person got sentenced to a trial, right? And then if I remember correctly, that son of the
that
Harpy was killed, right?
crucified, I thought. I don't remember.
Crucified.
Well, the big thing that to me for season 5, as far as Daenerys' character arc, was she's trying to abolish the fighting pits
Yep.
and whatnot. She doesn't think that's like why should people, and then they don't they're trying to teach her or convince her like this is how it's done. You may not agree with it. You might not want slaves in here, and fighting to the death and stuff. But that's the way it's always been. So there's a lot of stuff going on
It's a
there.
part of the culture more than anything. else.
Exactly, and it
Yeah.
leads to one of my favorite scenes of that season, where Jorah coming back, trying to get back into her good graces after she'd sent him away, brings
With
her
Tyrion.
Tyrion. No, Tyrion stays and is her advisor at this point. Tyrion's the one that convinces her to make him, abolish him and send him away. He ends up coming back as a slave and fighting in the pits for her.
Yep.
And throughout it all, he kind of like bucks the odds and he ends up winning that battle. And then to me, you see him pick up that spear and he throws it in her direction. And that was such a good
starts
like
the riot
but it shows such a great mislead because you think like is he throwing it at her? No, he was throwing to one of the Sons of the Harpy that was sneaking up from behind about to assassinate her.
Yep.
And he's still devoted to her, even though she sent him away, even though he was at one time spying for Varys, spying on her for Varys. He's now so like convinced and in love with her, and just like she's the one true queen, and she needs to take the Iron Throne. He's part of her cause. However many times she sends him away, he keeps coming back.
And he understands all the reasons that she has sent him away. So it's not like any of her
Right.
reasons are unjust.
Right.
So it's an interesting story. So I really love that story.
But that just leads to a great scene where they're all being the Sons of the Harpy are kind of surrounding them in the middle of this fight pit.
Yeah.
And she closes her eyes and she has that connection. And here comes Drogon
Yep.
and flies down, starts kicking butt, breathing fire, killing these things. They start throwing spears at him. She ends up going up to him, kind of calming him down just a little bit, gets on his back, and then boom, the queen. Like she's finally like this is the Daenerys that everybody knew that this could be. Yeah. She's ready
Yeah.
to do what she needs to do and take back the throne. She's at that point now where she's like, this is where my power is. This is what's going to happen. I'm more headstrong. This is the way I'm going to rule. And boom, she's got her army pretty much. She's got all the pieces are falling in place for her.
Yeah.
Her storyline, all of season 5, I'll just be honest, I go through these periods with her where I get very, very boring with her storyline. I go through
It's
it with,
highs
a
and
lot of-
lows.
yeah.
The highs are very high and the lows are very. Yeah.
I didn't season 5 was about her learning how to manage the city and how to
How to be
set
a
up
queen,
her-
how to be
yeah.
a ruler. Yeah.
And I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. She ended up marrying that guy who that whole
The
storyline.
former slave
Well,
master.
the slave master's son.
Someone, yeah.
And he's the one who convinced her to get the games going back on. I truly believe in my heart that he's the one helping set up the Sons of the Harpy attacks, but you never see it. And then you see one of the Sons of Harpy stab him in the stomach.
Yeah.
I like that, the relationship that her and Tyrion have. I think that was probably like the coolest part of it for me. Dany's storyline was that Tyrion got over there. Another small aspect that I wanted to just hear you all out so you could give me ideas on when Tyrion got over there too before he went in that brothel. A very important thing, very small detail, but still very important to me, because at this point we've only seen we've seen a red priest and a red priestess, and we've seen them both in Westeros. We actually get to see that their culture is very alive and booming on the other side
It's
of the
more
map.
than the red woman.
Yes, there's red priests and priestesses out in the streets preaching about the Lord of Light.
It's not in the West. It's in the East.
Everywhere. It's
But
literally
it's not as much in the West.
Exactly.
It doesn't seem. It seems like the East is where
It
it's...
seemed like that's where we were getting kind of force fed everything.
Yep.
But I don't know. Another thing. My God.
We haven't even talked about the High Sparrow or Cersei. And
Nope, we haven't got into
So
it.
we should get into that now.
All right, so we're introduced with a new set of villains. If depending on how you look at it, to me they're villains because
They're fanatics.
Yeah, complete fanatics. So out of nowhere,
the Seven Septum.
the High Sparrow and the Septum, and this is it came out of nowhere. I don't know if you guys noticed it either, but he was not the scepter that was there when Ned Stark's head got cut off.
No.
So then why would anything else change in the meantime? So his little, his religious fanatics started coming out of nowhere.
Yeah, I didn't really like how they came into the picture.
No. And another thing that aggravated me is Loras Tyrell is one of the bad... Whatever he may be, whatever he may like is what he likes, but he's one of the baddest knights there is when it comes to fighting. He took the mountain out.
Yep.
So why is it when 8 sparrows come walking up to him and try to put him in chains, he does not fight? He didn't fight. He didn't even try to fight, and that was nuts.
And the Sparrows are a bunch of 18 to 25-year-olds that are just...
Well, maybe it is because of belief in the religion or something along those lines. No,
But it's not the same religion anymore, though. That's the thing. It's not even the same...
We don't even know, we don't know what house worships what. Religion, the whole aspect of old religion, new religion.
That's why they just say, I swear by the old gods and the new,
no.
because they don't even know.
Exactly. They even, I want to say in one of the episodes, they're I don't even care what God we're swearing to. Whatever it is what, because...
Where Brianna Tarth, every time she takes that oath, you think about it, because if you're taking an oath to somebody, you don't know what religion they choose, the old gods or the new, so you have to say both.
The old
Cover your bases.
Old gods are the trees, which...
New gods of the light, right?
New gods, no. New gods are the 7.
The 7.
And then there's the Lord of Light, the true
Which
God.
is a separate...
You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
He's...
And then there's the many-faced god, too.
the Prince Reborn. And, the many-faced God
Different
is
thing.
death.
Yeah.
So, what do we... another thing. Real cool thing. I'm starting to run out of stuff to say. Except I wanted to mention this. This is really cool. In that gladiator scene... that Jorah took the place as the Westerosi knight. Then there was a Marinese knight. Then there was it was literally every house that we had on there. We had the water fighter like Serio Farrell. We had the Dothraki warrior. They were all in there, and all the fighting styles going up against each other. That was a great scene. But I think it's great that I'm gonna just...
Well, I'm touching upon a couple other things here. We want to talk
You
about...
didn't get into the Walk of Shame.
Well, we're going to get to that. We want to talk about that now since we're kind of talking about that same thing. But in between that, and again, we don't know when it's flowing, time is flowing, but Brienne and Podrick, realized the kind of...
That's right. This is going
Hey,
on.
this is Sansa. And then Sansa kind of finds Theon and okay, here's almost like a stepbrother type thing. She grew up with him and she's found out what he's kind of become, and he's loyal to Ramsay. And that whole, we were talking about the whole TV rape. Ramsay is such a bastard, again, no pun intended, that he makes Theon watch. He's got such a control over Theon. He makes Theon watch this girl he considered almost like a sister, get raped and get I don't know, sodomized, if you will. I don't know what he did to her because that's left open to interpretation, but he was not nice about it. Let's put it that way. So there's that whole storyline. So now that leads to I'm not sure if it's season 5, but is that the where they kind of Theon kind of has a change of heart at that point.
They escape.
They escape, and so Theon, who's been under the thrall of Ramsay for this how long I don't know, but finally, like right when Sansa's life is in danger, Theon finally, instead of being Reek, he kind of becomes Theon again for a second and ends up saving Sansa's life.
Yep, they jump off the castle into the snow. They're running through the snow. Ramsay comes back. He sends his dogs after them. So they're running through the woods, and they get cornered under like a big tree thing.
Yep.
And Theon's saying, go, I'll deal with this. And Sansa's like, no, I'm not going. And she stays on the tree. She would have got caught anyway, regardless of if she ran or not.
That was also changed for TV too. Ramsay Bolton never marries Sansa in the books. They marry him to an Arya Stark lookalike.
Oh.
So
More
Sansa
deception.
actually lives at the Vale under a different name. She actually...
It's like one of the girls she grew up with or something like that.
Yes, one of the girls she grew up with.
So, but this is where they meet up with Brienne of Tarth and what's his name?
Podrick.
Podrick Payne.
Podrick Payne. Yeah, so that was like an interesting scene because that's where she swears that oath with her old gods anew,
Yep.
And takes her to Castle Black. So that's kind of where I think that part ends.
The other thing I want to talk about real quick with in regards to that story is that's where Theon also, we finally learned that, we knew it at the time, but he didn't actually burn. He confesses to Sansa that he actually didn't burn Bran and Rickon. So that gives her hope that her two brothers, who she thought were dead, are actually still alive and out there somewhere. So that gives her hope. And then that makes kind of the scenes as we're leading into season 6 a little bit more heartfelt and warm and loving. And then you realize, oh, there might be hope for the rest of the Stark family. And we'll figure out how wrong we are in season 6. But, yeah, anything else you guys want to add about the Sansa Theon storyline?
No, I think we covered that.
So
Trying to think of what else we didn't hit. Did we talk about Daenerys' capture with the Dothraki?
No,
That's
6.
But I will say this. So far, what has been the most disturbing? I think season 5 was probably the most disturbing of all the 5 seasons. Just for me to be like, I can't believe they're like these. This is some of the storylines they're going into. So obviously, Ramsay is total jackass, total prick. But the other thing I want to talk about, and I don't know if we talked about it because again, I might have been sharing the podcast. Did we talk about Stannis and Shireen?
Oh no, we have not.
That to me was the most disgusting scene that I've had to. And I'm not a parent. So I can't.
It's hard to watch.
I don't know. As parents, I don't know how you guys felt about that.
It was hard to watch. I just look at it as so. But let's go back to what the scene actually was.
Yeah.
So Stannis and his army, they're leaving Castle Black, right, to head to Winterfell. So they're leaving, and it gets to a point where a lot of the sellswords have left. The snow hit hard or whatever, right? Running out of food, running out of supplies. A lot of the sellswords left. Got to the point where Stannis is like, okay, kill horses to feed people, yada yada yada. The red one wasn't that it?
No, what ended up happening is why he had. Do you want me to say why he had to slaughter horses to feed people?
I thought he said use them as meat, so that's why I was.
That's because.
Did I miss something?
Ramsay took 20 guys and hit a whole army.
Oh, I forgot about that part. Yeah,
burnt all
that's
their
right.
tents.
I forgot about that piece.
Destroyed all their siege weaponry. So when everybody, when the smoke clears from the fire, most of the sellswords jumped on horses, took off. The horses that were injured, he said, slaughter for meat.
Yep. And that's what, and he was upset about that because like, how did 20 guys come in and just do this to us? So at this point, they're all very down. It looks like things are, and she says, well, the God of light, the Lord of light commands that not commands, but they need to burn his daughter. She doesn't say it straight out. She says doesn't she say a sacrifice has to be made?
No. So he knows that he's in a really shitty position. Yeah. Okay. And the last time they make a comment, too bad we don't have any king's blood.
Yeah.
So now we talked about it last week about the king's blood having magical power. Now they tried to burn Mance, and because he's a false king, he's the king of the north. I mean, he's the king beyond the wall. And Jon Snow puts an arrow through his heart, stopping that. So now we're at a point where there are very, very few options to find King's blood. Gendry we know is doing.
You know, I
laps
didn't even
around-
think about that was part of the
He's-
reason they burned him.
Yeah,
I didn't
he's
even think
doing
about
laps
that.
around the island. They've killed almost all of Robert Baratheon's other children.
Yep.
So Dany's got King's blood. Jon Snow's got King's blood. Gendry's got King's blood, and they think to
Other
say
than
that
Stannis.
they
Yeah.
think to say that Stannis was like never really king. You know, he's like a self-made. That's what I don't understand about her. She's like, it's King's blood and blah blah blah. Well, in that case, then Theon Greyjoy has King's blood because Balon Greyjoy claimed himself king of the Iron Islands.
But Stannis is Robert's brother, so by blood, he should be the next king.
But Robert stole the throne.
Right.
Robert was not Targaryen. It wasn't handed down to him in the tradition of Westeros.
Well, I mean, how else do you get a throne? I mean, how does anybody get a throne though if you're not blood? You take it over, right? I
wow,
mean,
that's-
isn't that kind of the loaded question?
That's another story for another show. Like if we ever
Like, what are the rules of getting a throne?
If we dig deeper into Game of Thrones, like the Targaryen household, because their relationship with the dragons, they had the power.
Well, that's a different kind of thing, yeah.
So they call them Seven Kingdoms because they all used to be their own kingdoms with
Yeah.
their own castles, and and then there was sub houses that were loyal to these kingdoms. Like all of those major houses, we're talking like literally all of them.
Lannister,
Arryn,
Stark.
Lannister, Stark.
They were their
Baratheon,
own- Yeah.
Martells, Tyrells, and
Their own countries, basically.
Greyjoys. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were seven kings. You
Yeah.
know, so I don't know.
So let's talk about so basically to appease the Lord of the Light to give Stannis power, and then he ends up burning at the stake his own daughter.
Yeah, and what's crazy is Davos has a strange feeling the whole time, and he keeps telling Stannis, please let me just take her with me. Why don't your wife and daughter come with me to the Castle Black? And it's no place for your wife and child to be at a siege, and it's snowing out, and they'll be safe with me. And he says, no, my family stays with me. The second Davos leaves, literally the second Davos leaves, Stannis comes in the room, and he's talking to his daughter, and his daughter lets him know, I will do anything to help you. And you can just see, like, his eyes are so focused on that Iron Throne, on that, stupid chair, that he just doesn't even see his daughter as his daughter anymore. He sees his daughter
Means
as
to an
a
end.
means to an end.
Yes.
I was going to use the same exact wording. That is awesome. So,
I wasn't sure if he was going to hit me or not.
no, that was awesome. So,
but-
yeah.
So yeah,
Again, like, that was very, very sad. Like,
hear the girls screaming in
Yeah.
pain, "Father, help me!" Like
Yeah.
that.
And then
killed
the
me.
mother
As-
realizing she made a mistake.
Boom, that's the point I was going to make. Because she holds his hand, she holds Stannis' hands first and says, we need to do this.
Yep.
Like,
Because
it's what's
she's
best for
totally
everybody.
Yeah.
sold on the Lord of the Light, and
She was sold on it before he was. She drank the Kool-Aid a lot sooner than he did.
then hearing her daughter scream in agony
Just changed the whole.
woke something up.
And you know what's great about that? I mean, not that anything's great about that scene, but what was great about that scene is they didn't show it. They didn't show her burning. They showed it from from the soldiers' point of views,
Yeah.
and you're seeing all their
Their
faces.
faces
and it's
are
just
like-
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh my God!"
Like,
Like,
who are we following
yeah,
at this point?
and
But the weather eases up,
yeah,
right? And they move on.
and they go with not even half the amount of soldiers they had.
And
and
Stannis
they
is like, no, we got to go now.
trudge.
Can't wait for anybody else.
Can't wait.
Stannis' wife, he ends up finding her. She ends up hanging herself,
in the woods
Yeah.
from the guilt.
and then his army is pretty much.
On their way to Winterfell.
Well, no, but they
Right.
pretty much get their asses kicked.
At Winterfell.
Not pretty much. They get
They get
smoked
handed to
up.
him, and he's injured. He's wounded. He's sitting there, and who comes up? But
Brienne.
Brienne of Tarth, and again, she has Oathkeeper to tie it back to what we were talking about before.
Yep.
She was given that sword by Jaime. She made a promise to Renly, or she was supposed to protect Renly. She was there when the shadow monster, whatever,
Killed him,
and
yep.
and she realized it was Stannis. He admits to it, which is big of him. He realizes he's dying. He's got nothing else. He's not going to win, and then she executes him.
And
So-
then leaves a Valyrian steel sword sitting in the frickin' snow.
Right.
What can you do?
Now let's talk about Cersei at the end of season 5, and then we'll get into season 6 because we're already.
No, we can't finish off season 5 yet.
Okay,
We
well,
cannot. Most
we're-
important part of season 5. Everything that we said in season 5 doesn't even come close to what we're going to talk about right now.
Okay.
So, Jon Snow and Tormund, they go
Yep.
They go to scoop up the rest of the Wildling army at the Wildlings' big
Yep.
stronghold called Hardhome.
Yep.
We have a meeting. Like you say, Tormund vouches in front of all of the other clan leaders that Jon Snow,
He's the man.
he is the man to follow.
Yep.
And at first they're not having it, but then they realize, like, wow, Tormund's really sticking by this dude. And then next thing you start hearing is the horn. Boom! Boom. They go outside, you see the Night King. We actually get to see the Night King. Not just a regular White Walker. We see the Night King. We see his other 4 generals with him. And we see the zombie horde flooding the gates of Hardhome. And a lot of like regular civilians get locked out. They try to hold these gates up. Now we're seeing all the baddest warriors there are from the free folk. We got Jon there. We got Jon's right at this point because Gren's gone, Pip's gone, Samwell's doing his own thing. Jon's with his new right-hand man, who he ends up making Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. I can't think of his name right now. That would have been a good one for someone to stump me with. But, so the Night King sends all of his zombies down. The regular, like, normal free folk are fighting the zombies. So, of course, the main battle is, the one White Walker comes down, and him and the Thenn are fighting. The Thenn's got his long battle axe and goes to hit the White Walker. White Walker just shatters the guy's battle axe, kills the Thenn. Jon knows that the Dragon Glass, which works on killing White Walkers and, resurrected zombies, knows it's in that house where the Thenn just died, knows the White Walker's in there, goes in there, has a beautiful battle with the White Walker. Looks like he's going to, the White Walker's going to shatter Jon Snow Longclaw just like he did with the guy's axe, and then boom! Like, the Valyrian steel has the ability to kill White Walkers. It's
Which is a good no. Even
Yeah.
though it's rare, it's still something good to know.
It's made with dragon fire.
Yeah.
So that's where it comes from.
And then the
Yeah.
twist, as they're
Twist and
sailing
shout.
away,
As they're sailing away, the best,
Jon,
Best.
Tormund, and the rest of their survivors.
which is a very, very limited amount, they actually get to see the full power of the Night King. So the Night King is standing on the dock as Jon is standing on a
Probably one of the most
canoe
creepiest scenes ever.
being brought away. I would say, yeah, like in Game of Thrones, that would definitely be the creepiest scene.
Yeah.
Like I like murder with there's killings and back and all that other
But this
stuff.
is like apps. This is spine tingling
Yeah.
creepy.
Just a quick shout out. Thank you, Josh Matus. He's leaving. He's catching up on season 6 right now, so he doesn't want to get spoiled
no,
for that.
that's
So
good. That's good. But just the hand movement, the Night King's arms are raised,
Yep.
and you just see everyone who died raise up. So I mean,
The army's just getting bigger.
the army's gonna get bigger, and then think of it, like every single one of your soul, like I'm saying, say all of Westeros came together. Cersei, Dany, Jon Snow, they bring everyone together, bring this mega army. You're going toe to toe with an army. For every one of your guys that die, it increases their number.
Yeah.
Like that's a tough situation.
Hard to get out of
Another
that
thing,
one.
another thing that we didn't talk about, like because realistically, Bran's story is boring as sin.
Yeah.
Except Bran met the Children of Light.
Yep.
The Children of the Forest. He met the Three-Eyed Raven.
Which they give us, is it this season or the next season? They give the slight insight in the
Little
fact that they
backstory?
created the White Walkers.
that was season 5.
That is this season.
They
season
did.
5.
They
Yep.
actually they created the Night King. They say that they
as a
used
defense for their lands.
against us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The Andals.
But they don't say how it got out of control.
No, but what we could assume is like he turned one into it. You know what I mean? Like, and it just it spread really quick.
Yep.
We actually learn. I mean, it's not official, but I will tell you, I've told everybody this since I've seen the episode, and I've always thought that there was like something fishy going on with Bran. I believe that Bran has the ability to change things in time. The first episode where we see him looking at Ned going
Yep.
into the
I was just
Tower
thinking of
Light.
this about the whole Jon Snow's
Yeah.
origin.
He yelled out, Bran yelled out, "Father!" And Ned turns around to look, and
Yeah.
there's nothing there. Another scene is when the Three-Eyed Raven floods Bran's head with all of the stuff that he's
Yeah.
learned throughout all of his life, and you're just seeing it's like a
All these
flip-up.
flashes. Yeah.
And you hear the Night King not the Night King, the Mad King, burn them all, burn them all, burn them all. They would always say that the Night King would always hear whispering, and that's what would make him crazy. So we learn that the episode The Door, that Bran has the ability to walk into people in the past. So as a three-eyed raven, he can be in a different time period and then be into somebody else's body and control them. We learned that already with what he did to Hodor, how he messed Hodor up in the whole.
But is that season 6?
Hold the Door was really yeah, it was episode 5, season 6.
Yeah, so we'll
So
get into there.
We'll backtrack
Oh,
a little bit.
there's so much.
We'll get into there, but I do want to talk about a couple things.
Still didn't hit the walk of shame.
I want to talk about the Walk of Shame, but I want to give a quick shout out to Johnny Leathers. He is dropping some news here that looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger is going to be in season 7 of Game of Thrones. He's going to go up to Jon Snow and find out once and for all, who is your daddy and what does he do? So sorry, I had to throw that joke out there because Johnny Leathers, big supporter of the show. We're going to get him on, I think, sometime in the fall, he said. So I'll have him back on soon.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
But
It's not the tumor.
speaking of, that's a shameful impression. Speaking of shame, let's talk about the Walk of Shame. KB, talk about that.
So, Walk of Shame. Now, we haven't, like I said, we started talking about the sparrows and stuff, but we kind of got to get back to it. So,
Yeah.
so Cersei is the one who basically puts the High Sparrow into power, right? She's basically the one that gets them into.
Oh yeah, she
the
messed
position.
up on that one.
She messes up big time. She even admits. You never hear Cersei admit to making a mistake,
Yeah.
right? So, let's see. So, who was the first person that they took? That would be.
First person that they took was.
Well, they had Loras.
Loras, and then Loras goes to trial.
And then that's where they
Yeah,
rolled Marjorie in.
Yep.
And then that's.
Then
where
after
they
that,
end
that's
up.
where Cersei goes to
run
visit,
her mouth.
and they rope Cersei in,
Rope Cersei in.
right?
Yeah.
So now, in the meantime, they have what's the sister's name? The High Sparrow's sister there that watches them all in prison,
Mother Septa.
Mother Septa, and how brutal she is with all of them.
She's like a nun in Catholic
Especially-
school, old school
especially
nun in
s-
Catholic school. Man.
Especially Cersei, and I just love how Cersei is saying, "When you die, my face is gonna be the last thing that you ever see." And she says that a couple times, and it's just so I hate to say it, fun, because towards the end. But so Cersei basically talking with the High Sparrow, she says she's gonna confess, right? And she only confesses to one sin. And which one was it?
The one sin she confessed.
Because she didn't confess to everything. Remember, she confesses to one.
I want to say maybe killing her husband.
I
No.
don't-
She does that afterwards, where she's pouring the wine in that chick's face.
She confesses to one. Was it like adultery or something? It was which one? did
Laying
she-
with her cousin.
laying with Lancel.
Because
Yep.
Lancel, there was no getting around that. Because Lancel's right there, like, yeah, we hooked
A-
up.
and he asks her about the kids and sleeping with Jamie and
Yeah,
in that basically, and she's like, no, that never happened. But anyway, so she admits to one. So he says, okay, you can stay in the Red Keep now.
Yeah.
Until your trial
Trial.
awaits. Until your trial. They cut off all of her hair, which was shameful for her by itself. Never mind the walk of shame. Like just that by itself, I think was
Ugh.
shameful for her. So then she's doing the walk of shame, and I just I remember seeing that and just being like, okay, I understand this. This is weird, and it's everything she deserves. But at the same time, this is the one time you're like, Cersei's was my most hated, the person I hated most until the Sparrows came, and I'm like, here's somebody who I want to see beat the Sparrows.
Yeah.
And so she finishes the walk of shame, right? She gets to the end of the castle.
It's such a hard scene to watch.
It's not that hard, but she gets to the Red Keep, right?
Yep.
And I just love the scene where the mountain is there and just kind of scoops her up.
Zombie Mountain.
Yeah, right. And it's like, oh boy, she's got a new weapon. She's got a new toy to play with. And to me, that was like, it was like, okay, she just went through all this and she walks in the door and like, here's this weapon. Here's this massive
And
thing.
you can see her face change at
Yeah.
that exact moment.
Like, I have power now.
What
Just
is so beautiful about that walk of shame? The most she is getting shit thrown
Oh,
at
yeah.
her. Food. People are
People are
pissing
spitting on her.
Yeah.
She's getting everything just destroyed, and her eyes are on that castle the
Yep.
whole time.
She just wants
She's
to get there.
focused.
Get me through that door. Get me through that door. Get me through that
Yep.
door. Seriously, if it was me, the second that door would have swung open, I would have been like, get somebody out there and kill them now.
Right.
Kill every one of them. I would have blew up the city right then and there.
Well, that's
believe.
setting up for a great season 6. But before we get into season
Is there
6,
anything we left out of
yeah,
season
well,
5?
I have one question for you about before we get out of season 5. Did you know that Jon Snow was waiting in line at the Apple Store in line? And why was he waiting in line at the Apple Store?
Because he knows nothing.
For the watch.
For the watch.
For the watch.
I'm trying to think if there's anything that we forgot.
Yeah, most important thing. End of season 5. Jon Snow gets killed.
For
Jon
the
Snow
watch.
Gets
Yep.
stabbed in his belly.
He didn't get the
Yeah.
the segue.
No, I did, but
Oh man.
Basically, they tell him, "Oh, there's news about your Uncle Benjen."
Uncle Benjen.
He comes running out and he sees like on not a cross, but whatever, like a post has a sign that says the word traitor.
Traitor.
So he turns around
For the watch.
and then he gets stabbed a number of different times, and the one to strike the killing blow,
Is that bastard Ollie?
Ollie, that little boy who is like so conflicted, and he's
Breaks
like,
your heart twice, man. I can't with him.
and the show ends on Jon Snow bleeding out and dying.
I'm trying to think. Is there anything else? Let's see. Dorne. So right is now did Jamie and Bronn come back from Dorne? Is
No,
that beginning of
Maester.
season
Oh,
6.
this is what we forgot. Maester Aemon died. We forgot to mention that Jon Snow's now Lord Commander.
yeah.
was
What was?
until his death.
Because remember he dies. Yeah.
Was until his death, and
Trying to think of what else. Did we cover everybody? I think so.
all the wildlings are now on the other side of the wall.
Yep.
What's the king, the current king, the youngest
Tommen.
brother, Tommen. Tommen is
Well, we're still he's still the king. Yep, that doesn't happen until
He's still
season
there.
6.
And was this scene season 5? I love the scene where Bronn and the Sand Snakes are in prison.
Yes.
Was
Tell
that
me-
season 5?
Tell me one more time before.
thought-
And you are the most beautiful girl in the
world.
world. Oh man, that would be a good
Yeah,
one.
I just
Be a
love
good
that
cell
scene.
to be
I
locked up
just
across from.
love that scene. I just love Bronn's character. He's just so amusing.
Oh man.
But no, I think we covered it all.
Yeah, because we're let's get into season 6 because we're already about an hour and 15 minutes in.
Beth is gonna like punch me in the face.
Yeah, and I only want you to get a couple, and I only want to like shame you like 2 or 3 times. Shame.
All
Let's
right.
go season 6. Let's kind of
Highlights, favorite parts of season 6 for me. I like that Daenerys got back with the Dothraki.
Yep.
I like that whole story arc. See, remember I told you it
Yep.
goes on and off for her? That was back on. for
burning
me.
When
the council,
cows. Yep.
the council,
Council
of
of
Cows.
Cows.
Yep, I found that to be great. I think it's
And
awesome.
the look on their face when she's grabbing the fire,
Yeah,
and they're like, "Why is she not burning?"
I love when she
And-
just boots the door open, stand there ass naked, just like, "Yep, you guys are mine again."
it's a
Yeah.
callback. It's a callback to the first season.
yeah, it definitely is. And that's not her body in that.
No.
Now they started going to a body double after.
Yeah.
When you make money like that.
But to your point, before we talk about that, her coming out and emerging, again, she sets that building on fire. The Dothraki are basically saying, we don't care what you think. We're gonna have our fun with you, and then we might give our horses a shot or whatever. And she's just like, I don't need you. You know what I mean? Like you guys are all, it's almost like, you guys are in here with me. I'm the one that's got the power, and I just love that.
It's like Rorschach in prison.
Yo,
Well, that's what I was gonna say. You're not in here. Yeah, I'm not in here with you. You're in here with me. And she takes whatever, I forget, like that, whatever the thing is with the coal and the fire, and she pushes it over, and it just like ignites, and
goes
everybody, all these big strapping strong dudes are all like scared as
Well, it's great because she could have escaped. She tells Dario and Jorah.
Yeah, she didn't have to do that.
These are my people. Like I'm taking these people. Like you don't understand.
You
Like,
can
you guys stay
see
back
the
there.
confidence in her has
Yeah.
grown. I mean, she's always been confident. I think after like the first couple seasons, right?
Yep.
From when she walked out, from when the dragons first hatched, she was confident. But now we've seen that confidence just
Now her confidence is
Through the roof.
mastered. I think season 6. All right, so Tyrion runs the city for a bit. Things get a little ugly.
Yeah.
Things get a little better. He tries.
does
to
a good
make
job.
Yeah, he tries to make deals with the slave owners. The slave owners obviously mess
which
up.
Grey
on the
Worm
deals.
and what's her name don't really understand it. They're a little
don't-
upset.
They don't. I love when he tries to get him drunk. Tell a joke. Grey Worm has no jokes. The girl has no jokes. But he gets him drunk, and then they start laughing at his jokes. Let's see.
Let's go.
Season 6 gives us the return of Benjen Stark out
Yep.
of nowhere,
Yep.
who is also half walker. Well, I'm calling him a walker like this.
White Walker.
Yeah,
Half-
I really want to
yeah.
know more about that.
Yeah, so he's half.
How
and
he's
half.
there? How he's there?
He's not allowed to cross the wall. So by him sharing that with us, which I picked up on this today, Benjen says that he can't cross the wall because of all the magic in the wall. So that means that the White Walker army can't cross the wall either.
Yeah.
Maybe the 5 or 6 White Walkers at the Rock can cross that wall, but that army can't. So that would keep us, you could send like 10 good swordsmen with the 10 Valyrian swords that are left in the world and, kill some
Fight
White
them.
Walkers.
Yeah.
All
But
right.
what I'm
Yeah, keep going.
I'm sorry. What I'm really excited about is we got a peek of the horn.
Mm-hmm.
There's a magical horn that takes that wall down. That's what takes down the wall, and we got a peek at that at the site of the first men.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when they moved the grave, and that's where they find the dragon glass?
Yep.
Well, the horn was inside that
It's in that bag.
tarp or whatever you
Yeah.
want. Yeah, and we got to see it, and then we haven't seen anything about it since.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm excited for. Let's see, Danny. We did the whole
Well, yes.
Dothraki thing.
So we
She
talked
comes
about
back.
that. Let's just do some rapid fire stuff.
Yeah.
The Red Woman
Red Woman.
shows up at Castle Black.
Yep.
She shows up at Castle Black.
Davos is there.
Yep.
Davos knows
They
about
end up
magic.
they end up for however reason, whether it's her religion or whatnot, Jon Snow back to life.
Yep. Well, Jon Snow is which is funny because she doesn't realize that
And she's never done it before either.
no,
Because she says,
But
I've never done this.
she's not even aware that it happens like that because Sir Bedrick, who
Yep.
we're gonna he'll be back in season 7, but he's been brought back to life so many
That's
times.
the
Eye Patch.
No, the group is the
Brotherhood Without Banners.
Yeah.
So, we got these guys. What was I talking about? Sir Bedrick. So she brings him back to life. That was really cool. He wakes up. He's all freaked out. You see, who his new group is at this point. You look now. We have Davos with Jon Snow because there's no more Stannis. We have Torment with Jon Snow because there's no more Mance. We have the Red Woman now because there's no more Stannis. The brothers that are left of the Night's Watch
Are split, right?
Well, actually, no. Realistically, the traitors all got hung in front of everybody.
Right.
Which was
No, I'm saying, but before he wakes up.
yeah.
Right.
I mean, actually,
it's
at that
just-
point, even if you were loyal to Jon Snow at that point, you still had to go with
Yeah, it
what
was the
Thorne
Black,
said. So
And his other friends were the Wildlings, but they're outside of Castle Black.
yep.
So he comes out and
So yeah, well, and I want to get back into that. We'll talk. He hangs the traitors.
Hangs
We're
the
going to put a
traitors.
pin in that storyline for a minute because I want to talk about some of the other things real quick because I think some of the big pieces are with Jon Snow and Daenerys. So I want to talk about some of the other stuff. I want to talk about Arya. She went blind because she ended up killing the wrong. She didn't. She ended up killing. She ended up
Killing
being-
Sir Meryn. She
Sir Meryn,
scratched the name off of her list.
Right, and it was it wasn't who the intended target was. And now that she was trading under Jaqen, the god of many faces, like he gave the god of many faces
Wasn't yours
gave
to
them a
take.
list. It was a life; it wasn't hers to take. So, kind of a punishment. She ends up going blind. She's on the street as a beggar. She ends up getting her eyesight back, and then she ends up given
In the wave.
Yep, fighting the wave, but she's also given a name. It's an acting troupe that's recounting the stories of the Purple Wedding
Yep.
and Ned Stark and all that. And she's laughing at it until she sees the actor playing her father, and then it's like becomes serious. Or they're making fun of my family. They're doing all this stuff. It's kind of reminding her of who she is. Come to find out that she ends up saving the life of the actress that they had pegged for death,
The
and
woman who plays
so she disobeys
Cersei.
again.
she disobeys again, and the
was-
waif it goes after her, wounds her, and that actress that she saved ends up kind of nursing her a little bit back to health and helping her out. So she finally reclaims her mantle as Arya Stark. She's not a girl, is not no longer no one. She realizes I'm Arya Stark, and now she's got this new skill set. And then that fast forward to what's his name, Walder Frey.
Yeah, but
Go ahead, do your thing.
forgot to mention
Go for it.
the incredible citywide fight that she
The
has
chase,
with the wave.
Basically more of a chase than a fight.
And then she draws her right into her trap, gets her right into that little bummy dungeon where
Yep.
she's been sleeping.
Because now it's like you were picking on me when I couldn't see.
yeah.
Now
No
you
one-
can't see,
yeah.
and I've
I'm
done
used to
this.
it
I'm
now.
used to this.
You've been kicking my ass while I couldn't see. Guess what? Now we both can't see. See who's gonna kick who's
Even
ass.
playing ground.
Yep.
Exactly. It was phenomenal. All right.
But
Characters.
that was my question. I want to talk to you. I want to ask you. You want to say to stump you. So she ends up making her way back to Westeros
Yep.
Yep.
into Walder Frey, and he's having a a banquet or a party, and he's asking for his sons. Do you know which two that he was asking for?
Black Walden and Black. That's the only one he really asked for. Now I literally just watched this, so he's like, He's like, you're not one of mine, are you? And she goes, no. And he's like, I know, you're too pretty. Smacks her on the ass, and he's like, where are my two boys? They're supposed to be back.
They're here.
And she's
They're
like,
here, my lord.
They're here. Where are they? What are they doing? And she's like, no, they're here. And she opens.
She's pointing to a pie.
Yeah, she opens the pie, and there's a finger, just coming up out of it. And she's like, it was really hard to mince the meat. And then just
Takes the face off.
Peels it off. And what's beautiful is he has no idea who she is. And he goes, I want you to know my name is Arya Stark. And just you know,
the last thing you're going to see is a Stark smiling down on you as you die. And he tries to get up, and she grabs him and slice, dude. And that's my favorite scene. Just like the look.
Slow slice, just like Catelyn got it.
Mm-hmm. And I want to point that out. This is going to be the first step. We have a Stark daughter smiling as somebody dies. We're going to put a pin in that because we'll get back to that in a second too. I just want to see.
This is perfect. This is how we should have been doing it.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying.
Pin in it. Boom.
Yeah. We'll get back to that. So that's Arya's storyline. She's back in Westeros. What else do we want to talk about? Let's talk about Cersei and what's going on with them in the sect.
Right?
Jaime comes back. Myrcella dies on the boat ride back. I think that was season 5. Yep. One of the things that she realizes that she mentions that she knows that Jaime is her father, and she's happy
right before she dies.
Right before she dies, and so Jaime has that one
I've always known.
Right.
And Tommen had sent Jaime to take back the castle from the Blackfish. What was that?
That's the Tully's castle. That's River Run.
Castle. Yep.
Because the Freys couldn't do it.
Yep.
Right. So, but let's talk about. So we're going back to the Sept and all this stuff. So Cersei, after the Walk of Shame, she ends up hatching a very intricate plan as they're getting ready to. Is it the trial of Marjorie that's going on?
Marjorie has no trial. Marjorie through Tommen made a pact or deal that Marjorie has no trial. Marjorie is completely free to go. And
they thought she was going to do a Walk of Shame. Remember, because the Tyrells show up.
Yeah, and they're like, yeah, no. Oh, I wish that would have went down, but again, the show wouldn't happen the way.
I'm a huge fan of Natalie Dormer. I think she's gorgeous, and I would agree. But I want to say, so Cersei hatches a plan, right? So what does she do?
Cersei.
She lines the hallways.
No, she doesn't. She doesn't do that. She doesn't line anything. It's already been there.
Right.
It's been there since the
She takes advantage of it.
And you want to know about why? This is all in one episode. Earlier on in the episode, no.
Yeah, because she asked, what's his name if the rumors are true?
No. In the episode before, though, they talk about the Mad King. It's somebody and Dany talking about. It's actually Dany and Tyrion having a conversation
about him burning people and
about her being like, you don't want to go. You're not going to go over there and just kill people and do this and that. That's what murderers do. That's what your father did. Okay, do you know that your father, before he died, lined all the streets underneath all the streets with dragon fire and under the Sept and under everything. You hear that, and then it just kind of rolls into something else. And then there you are in that Sept scene.
And there's a little puddle, and there's a single candle burning.
3 little candles.
Okay, see, I haven't seen this in a while. So.
Dude, and this episode that we're talking about right now is the most beautiful episode. The whole, the whole beginning scene, the whole getting ready for the trial, them getting dressed, is all violin music, and you're hearing it pick up and
Cersei knows she's not going.
Yeah, well, this is what's perfect. Cersei, right off of that opening scene, the last scene of what we're,
and this was her backup plan.
Yeah,
because remember, her original plan was, I have the mountain, I'm gonna take trial by combat,
and I'm gonna win.
And Tommen's like, no more trial by combat.
Sparrow.
And that's where she asks, what's his name, the guy who brought the mountain back. I always forget his name.
You know what? That maester. He used to be a maester. They took him away because of what he's practiced. Yeah.
But anyway, but that's when she asked him, are the rumors true?
Yeah.
Or did we find what we expect? He's like, more.
More. Yeah.
And then it was like shock, and then the shock was gone because of whatever plan she had.
Yeah.
And I think what's really kind of disturbing about the scene, so getting back to the candles and everything, working up to that point. Okay, so the day of the trial, the Grand Maester, right?
Yep.
Grand Maester, he is Maester, right? The
Is
kids.
it Pycelle?
Yeah.
So
He's in
the,
Star Wars.
the little kids lure him into the
Into-
lab, right? And I thought that was a gruesome scene.
I thought it was, and you know what I thought was awesome? Like the new
the kids like just stabbing him.
the maester that's down there is like I don't know what you did to deserve this, but I don't think anybody should die in a place this dark.
Because that was like Cersei's command, basically.
Yeah, and you know what was great too? Like for an old man that he is, like as soon as he saw all those knives come out, the first kid that comes at him, he tosses that kid such a backhand. It's like whack. And
He's like 90 years old.
kid goes flying. But yeah. But that was great. Like she took care of all of her loose ends because Pycelle used to always be in her pocket, but now Pycelle's in Natalie Dormer's pocket.
The other thing that always got me too was the Lancel thing, right? Because the kids lure him down there. Remember?
That was awesome.
So
Nobody deserved it more than Lancel to get it that
But
way.
see, my thing is like, what was the purpose of luring him down there? He was there anyway.
Well, he wasn't gonna go that way. His job was to go get Cersei.
Yeah.
And then he saw the little sneaky kid run down that area.
But
so
why?
He goes,
But why
"You
did he
two go."
care?
It's leading him to it's the whole thing about it's like dangling the cheese in front of the mouse and bring him to that point where he needs to be, lead him to where he needs to be.
Yeah, but why
to
did he
set him up?
But what everyone says, why does he care about the kid?
So
Why does he care about the little kid
You know
running
what?
down there?
It's funny because I
I didn't understand that.
I wondered the same thing. Like I
It's one of the
wondered
few
why-
things that I really don't understand in the show.
I want to say because it doesn't I literally
doesn't
just got
add
done
up.
watching this. The kid just kind of looks up and sees
Like he's up to
Lancel and
something?
Lancel sees him and automatically thinks that he's up to something. But
Because Lancel gets there right when the candle
Yeah.
melts down enough. The other thing I want to say about this, Lancel going to get Cersei, I don't understand why he would even consider that. Because at this point, think about it, they already knew the mountain was watching her.
they already there was 6 of them at the mountain.
like what Lancel's gonna go and face the mountain by himself.
Yeah.
I love what, speaking of the whole Cersei situation, I love the mountain in the fact that remember when the knights come to get her?
Remove Cersei
And
and he just stands
He
there
stands
by
there
himself.
and they're like, and you can see them like pissing themselves.
I love it when she goes, "I choose violence," and they're like, "Oh man, she just said violence."
Yep. But then I love when he walks away from the knights,
Yeah.
from the King's Guard, and they're like, like you see the look of the look of relief on all of their faces of oh, thank God we dodged that bullet. But then I love when the sparrows come to get him, and he just the sparrow swings at him, and he just grabs him and basically rips the top of his head off.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why would Lancel go get Cersei on his own? I didn't understand that either.
Well, this all leads to the scene with him crawling now. He's been injured. He's crawling toward the candle burning on the puddle of wildfire. And he's trying to get there in time. And guess what? He doesn't.
Stick a pin in it.
And
Really?
nobody's listening to Marjorie
Right.
That's
in
what I
the
was gonna talk
septon.
about.
Yep.
That's
She
good.
knows
Yep.
something's going on.
Yep.
Unpin. But here's the drawback. Here's the full circle type thing. So Cersei's watching the entire sept go up, exploding, that whole area just imploding on itself with the wildfire exploding. She seals her son's fate because Tommen now, knowing Marjorie's there, the devotion he has to her, he's like, I got
Well,
nothing.
he got the confirmation that Marjorie was there.
Right.
Somebody came and told him.
But so I don't want to undersell this, but we're kind of running low on time here, and I want to just get through some of this stuff. Basically, he kills himself, so all of her children are dead. So she assumes the throne now.
Yep.
Jaime comes back in time to watch her sitting on the Iron Throne, and the wildfire that was exploding. Jaime is the Kingslayer. He killed the Mad King because the Mad King
Wanted to do the
used
same thing.
the wildfire.
So Cersei did what.
So
he
now,
stopped, basically.
is it going to come full circle again, where Jaime's going to have to be Kingslayer again?
I think
No.
so.
or
no.
because the look between the two of them, he looks at her with like
Disgust.
There's only one set of hands that's gonna wring her neck, and it's Tyrion's. It's gotta be.
We'll see.
be.
We'll see. We
But,
got a couple more seasons.
Real quick, the only thing I wanted to say, I'm not going to get into too much more, but I wanted to say that episode, everything that you just spoke about that episode, it starts off with Cersei getting dressed slowly, like they're preparing Cersei, not for trial, but for her funeral, and she's in funeral garments.
Yeah.
She's wearing the black to mourn the loss of not
All-
so
all
much
of them.
everybody in there,
Yeah.
but she knew her kid was killing himself.
Yeah.
He was that devoted to her.
Hmm.
But yeah,
a good
What
point.
other? What other?
All right,
pieces do you wanna
I got two more major pieces,
Yeah,
and then we can get out of
let's
here.
do it,
We got to hit the Battle of Winterfell, right?
We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that. But that's why I said put a pin in the whole Arya thing. I want to talk about two more things. I want to talk about two Starks,
Okay.
Bran, and it leads to the episode called "The Door," which we found out. Not only can he warg back in time, he can also, like you were mentioned a little earlier,
Back in.
and he can affect things. So he ends up affecting Hodor as a young child. When I think they said earlier in the season he might have been like kicked in the head by a horse or something
mule.
by a mule.
Yeah, because the first time you see him, he's talking normal
No.
as a kid.
Oh,
As a kid in the
His
flashbacks.
name was Wylis.
But ever since that, the White Walkers kind of show up at the tree. End up, I can't think of the girl's name that escapes with Bran. The girl that's
Marion Reed.
been traveling. She says, "Hold the door to Hodor," and he blocks the door, and he's guarding with his massive
Which is when he
frame.
became Hodor back in time.
Right, because now Bran is warging in that time frame, seeing a young Hodor, and he gets in his mind. The kid collapses, starts like seizing, and he's saying, "Hold the door, hold the door, hold the door, hold door, hold door."
And that's why all he says is Hodor.
Right,
from that
and
point forward.
that was awesome. That was like great, but it shows, to your point, Don, as you mentioned before, when he goes and he sees his father as a young man, he can affect the times that he travels back to when he works. And we're going to put a pin in that because we're going to get back to that in a second, because now that Jon Snow has been revived, who shows up at Castle Black but Brienne, Podrick,
And Sansa.
and Sansa, and two of the Stark children are reunited.
Yes.
And this leads to, we didn't even talk that Ramsay has Rickon.
Yes.
Yep.
And he basically says, "Give me my wife back, or I will kill your brother." So this sets up the huge battle called Battle of the Bastards. Do you guys want to add anything on that? Let's talk about that real quick.
Okay, so Rickon, right? So somebody brought this up at work the other day. The Hounds, the direwolves, right?
Yep.
Rickon's is gone. Rob's is gone, right?
Yep.
Ghost is alive, right?
There's only
Ghost
There's two.
There's only two.
Where's the other one?
Nymeria.
Yeah, where is she?
Nymeria
ran
Arya
off.
Sent away. But in the books, it talks about the dreams that Arya has when she sleeps, about her running through the woods, smelling the mist coming off the leaves and all.
Okay.
So Nymeria is definitely still alive. And now that Arya's back in Westeros,
I wonder if you're going to see
It wouldn't
the
surprise
wolf
me.
again.
Beth is talking in code to you. I think that.
Landon's, that's my son saying hello.
Oh well, hi Landon. Thanks for watching, buddy.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get your dad home real quick. So yeah, Battle of the Bastards.
Battle of the Bastards costs more money to make than most Hollywood movies. It's probably one of the most expensive TV episodes ever made. Hard Home and Battle of the Bastards will always be. I can't tell you which one's my favorite episode because they're equally incredible.
I don't know. Battle of the Bastards to me seems to be a bit more dramatic.
I know,
than-
but there was no White Walkers
Yeah.
and there was no like revival of zombie. That was a powerful scene, but I just loved how with that episode, I love how when John and him they meet on the battlefield, they both got their crews with them, and Ramsay's running his mouth. Get off your knee, get off your horse, bastard. Take a knee. Nobody has to die, bastard, bastard, bastard. Keeps rubbing that, and I love it. And John's like all cool on his horse, like, you're right. No one has to die. Just one person. Like, no thousands don't have to die. Just one person.
One person has to die.
You or me. Let's do it the old way and fight. And you can just see the coward come out of Ramsay, like, I don't know if I could beat you. I hear great things about you, Lord Snow. Blah blah blah.
Yep.
You know. But that whole conversation ends the best way when what's her name? Sansa just goes, "You're gonna die tomorrow, Lord Bolton. Sleep well," and just rides away.
to get the veil.
And then we actually get the battle. We get the stupidest Stark boy ever to live, Rickon, who
Runs in a straight
straight
line.
straight line. You're seeing arrows hit in front
Zigzag,
of you.
dude.
Yeah.
Come on.
And but then I'm saying this, and I don't know if Beth corrected me or not. I think like when I was like watching this episode in my head, this popped in. It wouldn't have he could have zigzagged the whole way there, All Ramsay had to do is line it up right to either the left or right of Jon Snow's horse, because that's where his target was.
Very
And
true.
Yeah.
That's where that kid's mind was. You know what I mean? You just been held captive. And I just want to say this too. I get on these rants, and I'm wicked sorry. The fact that the fact of the whole Rickon being captured by the Bolton thing really pisses me off, is because Rickon actually made it to the Umber House, which the Great John was a loyal bannerman of Ned Stark the whole time. We never ever find out what happens to the Great John, but we get the Little John who ends up bringing Rickon to the Boltons. Like, whatever happened to the father? Yeah, you guys not going to touch on that? Is the only way you're going to find out whatever happened with that storyline is if you read the book. Another thing is, what? Oh no, she died. Wow, I spaced that out. The girl who was in Harry Potter, the wildling girl in this,
Yep.
who tried to act like she was gonna bang Ramsay.
Hook
and
up-
Ramsay,
Yeah.
she went for the knife.
She was going
Ramsay
to kill him, and he was one step ahead of her. But I want to talk about Battle of the Bastards. So yeah, Rickon dies, leads to this huge battle. What do we?
Bob and weave.
Okay, yeah, very true. My comments are slowing up
Where
here.
Jon Snow knows that he's outnumbered.
Right, and it turns into this huge thing, and
It looked like the end.
looked like the end. And guess what? Who's playing the game the best?
Lord
But
Baelish.
Sansa Stark.
Stanza, yeah.
She went
Yeah.
behind Jon's back and got the veil.
Yeah.
And the veil comes out and turns the tide. And now Ramsay is defeated. They make it to Castle. They make it back into Winterfell.
Yeah.
And Jon Snow is beating the piss out of him. And Sansa ends up stopping him, just saying, "Stop, Jon. You stop." They have him in a cell, and he's tied
Oh,
to
I
a
love the
chair.
dogs.
Wait, put a pin in it real quick.
Yeah.
What you forgot to mention is the coolest shit is
The giant.
when the
I
giant
love the giant. The last. That was the last giant,
yeah,
right?
the giant takes the door out. John comes in and Ramsay's just standing there. I believe you said you wanted a one-on-one fight. I'll take that now. Hey, and John just I want to say
Grabs
drops
a shield.
his- and
He
goes
dropped
for the
shield and
knows
he's
he
firing
was
arrows
low.
and he just hits him, starts beating the crap out of him. But this is what
Now unpissed.
Ramsay, again coming full circle, a couple of different themes here. Ramsay killed his father's wife and his little brother by feeding them to the dogs, letting the dogs attack him. Sansa's now watching him sitting in this chair, chained to this chair. And he's like, "They're my dogs." And she's like, "You haven't fed them for days. You said so yourself."
You haven't fed them in 7 days. You said so yourself. They're
So-
loyal beasts.
And no, they were not. And that's one of the most satisfying scenes, I think, in the entire show. But then, to tie it back to Arya now, Arya kills Walder Frey and she's smiling as he's bleeding out. Sansa starts to look away, and then she turns back and watches the dogs do what they do to this guy that's created. And then she starts walking away, and then she smirks. So both of the Stark girls now, so much different from where they first started.
They're
but
ruthless.
They're both
Be ruthless.
Sansa's
They
now
have to be.
playing this game. She's, in league with Baelish, perhaps. We don't know yet. We don't know how that's going to all play out in the long run. There's so many things
There's a
going
look.
on.
There's a look that's being said. All right, I get it.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Like this is a kind of we're all same time period. All of us what we're talking about right now. Jon Snow is made King in the North.
King of the North at this point.
I love the little girl from.
I couldn't think of her name. The one that.
was that Mormont?
That's Lady Mormont. Yeah.
Mormont.
Yeah.
I just love how decisive this little girl is.
Her name's Lyanna. She's named after the Stark sister.
Lyanna Mormont.
Yep.
So I just love that, we're the only house that supported you.
Well,
when
oh my
things
God,
were-
I'll go through that.
Oh, I
little,
love that
little
whole
rant
scene.
right now.
The little
Go
rant
for
that
it.
she has.
He looks. She looks across and she's like,
Putting down all these lords.
"Yeah, Lord Glover, was your son not murdered at the Red Wedding?" Yes, and did you take the call? No, she does. She calls each one of them out and tells them. And did you make the call?
Great acting too.
Yeah, she's like, House Mormont remembers, the North remembers, and she's like, I only see like one king here or something.
Yeah.
And then the next guy, they all just start going.
They all start
the
realizing,
king of
like,
the
if this
North-
little girl's gonna tell us off,
Yeah.
like, what are we gonna do now?
But the best thing about that scene is like everyone's like focused on, oh my God, Jon Snow, King of the North, getting all fired up. The
So-
whole time, Littlefinger's just leaning up against the wall in the back, and he's just looking at Sansa because he just had the conversation,
Yeah.
like, hey, this is what it's gonna be. Do you think the North should follow you or your bastard brother?
Yeah. So we should probably end off where everybody's at.
Well, let's. Well, no, I don't. I just want to. I don't think we should end off where everybody, because I think we kind of touched upon where everybody's at. Daenerys is making her way across.
Yep.
Danny's coming over. She's
And
got
then-
allies over here now.
Right. So,
Yep.
and this is what I want to leave with.
Because
And this
Dorne
is,
is now with her
And Tyrell.
and Tyrell.
and this is where
Because of Lord
and the
Varys.
Greyjoys.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the Greyjoys.
Yep.
But I want to leave it at this because I said we put a pin on the whole hold the door
Yep.
with Hodor and the warging. Bran goes back into another flashback and sees his father, and he goes up, finds his sister dying. Ned,
Bran's aunt.
well, no, I'm saying Ned's
Yeah.
sister
Yep.
dying, and that again proves the theory that everybody had since reading the book, and
Yep.
so that's kind of again putting a pin on it. He's warging in. He's privy to the information that Jon Snow is actually half Targaryen.
Yep.
Yes.
So I think that's
And
leading
that's
up.
not his
So-
brother.
so-
and-
so I
It's
just wa-
it's his it's like a
I
cousin.
want to kind of clarify the whole Targaryen thing. So Jon Snow's father is not the Mad King, the Mad King's son.
Right.
Next in line.
Daenerys's older brother.
Yes.
Daenerys' older
So
older
he
brother.
would have taken the throne. Rhaegar would have taken the throne after the Mad King.
So
That
makes,
wasn't the one that Dothraki killed, was it? I'm trying to
No,
think.
that's the other
that's
brother.
the other brother.
Yep. So basically, Daenerys and Jon are half siblings.
Half cousins.
Well,
Cousins.
no, because you're right, half cousins, right? So they want to keep and from what I was reading, some of the stuff the Targaryens tend to keep the
No,
bloodlines.
she's his aunt.
Yeah.
She's his aunt,
Yeah.
and she's a year older than him.
Right, and I think, but don't they keep they want to keep the bloodline similar to what's going on with Cersei and Jaime?
Lannisters, yeah, but
they-
that's a Targaryen thing.
It's a Targaryen thing to kind of keep the blood. So could the Song of Fire and Ice, with Daenerys obviously being dragon fire and Jon on the wall with the snow, is that the illusion that we're leading to? I mean, you've read the books. What do you? I mean, obviously we haven't had all
Did
the
you
books
see them
yet.
sitting
but-
on the throne together?
It could be that. It could be that a Song of Fire and Ice, Ice and Fire. Could be their two storylines. It could be the story of death. Like the death of the White Walkers versus the rebirth of the dragons and the fire of the dragons. I mean, it could. I don't know.
Are we in a position? Let me ask you this: Do we think we're in a position where we see Daenerys or Jon Snow or whoever take the throne this season, and then the White Walkers is like kind of the final season kind of thing?
Yes.
Do we think we're in that
That's
position?
that's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting.
Yes.
It's going to be interesting. All right, let's table this and we'll talk about because we're almost 2 hours in right now. So
Longest show we've ever done.
yeah, so let's do a couple things. I want to first, for all of you, those that are still watching, and I should have mentioned this at the top of the show. Every show that we have in the month of June, this is the fourth one. So this is what, 48, I said?
Mm-hmm.
So we got 48, 47, 46, and 45. Any of you that share this show, share this on Facebook, you're going to be entered to a drawing. We're going to have no show next week. The three of us are going to go be checking out Spider-Man Homecoming.
Can't wait.
And then the following show, we'll have Joe Amaral from the Whatever Bro podcast, Whatever Bro Films, as our fourth guest. Yeah.
Joe's been on this for every,
He's been-
every Marvel
But
film.
every Marvel
Joe's
review,
been
but
him.
that's what also pick out the winner.
Yeah.
So for everyone that shares those 4 videos for the month of June, so that's 45, 46, 47, and this one 48, your name could be entered 4 times. And I'll be putting up a video next week since there is going to be no show. I'll put up a video next Thursday about all the pieces of the prize pack that I'm putting together, and that name that we pick will receive that prize pack. I'll mail it out the weekend of the 16th. So we'll go from there, and so make sure you share this podcast, share it to your page, share the video. We'll pick out a name, and we'll go from there. Also, gentlemen, let's talk about some of the ancillary pieces. What else do we want to plug and promote and whatnot?
Ancillary? Who are you?
Okay, fine. Okay, fine.
Ancillary.
I'll do it. Hey, guys, check out our Facebook page if you're listening to the audio podcast and you're not watching the video.
Ancillary.
I'm just like ancillary. Like, what are you talking about?
I'm going to mute both your microphones. Check out our Facebook page. Every Wednesday, we do covers of the week.
Why did you just say it the way we always say it? Ancillary?
We're tired at this point.
Hey,
Oh,
I'm
man.
trying. That's my page a day, word of the day calendar.
We're tired. We can't deal with new words right now.
Check out some of the other stuff. Not only our main Facebook page, but some tertiary things as well, such as our Instagram and our Twitter. Free your geek on both of those.
Crocs.
And thank you to Pachico's Furniture, again, sponsor of our show. Fall River's finest secondhand store. DVDs, furniture, obviously, DVDs, CDs, video games. They have moving services, so if you're moving to a new place, if you're about to take the Iron Throne and need to move all your goods and hey, Pachico's Furniture can move it there for you. Anything else you guys want to plug? Go ahead.
You don't know any Dazzler websites?
Stop it. All right, fine. Hit him with the catchphrases, you jerks.
Start your weekend with your geek friends.
And get your dazzling geek on.
Hey, this is from Dominic right here. Check this out, and we'll talk to you guys later.
On the real, your boy is a hip-hop player, but for this joint here, I play the role of King Slayer. See, toe-to-toe, blow for blow, we can fight G. But word to Jamie, there are no other men like me. This industry is in a roughed up state. Cats front so tough, you call the bluff, they fake. And we all know it too, we just love to pretend. Use my tongue as a sword, slice it with the pointy end. And friends can turn to enemies in an op link. My click together firm like a master's chain link. We got skills and yes, we're so ill. Our brotherhood was born underneath the hollow hill. For real, it's so sad, it's almost funny. You're getting my little fingers steady chasing after money. Dummies, I do it for the love like Stark and sit alone with my honor in a dungeon in the dark. In this Game of Thrones, it's eye for eye. There is no middle ground, you either win or die.